Good afternoon and welcome to the Council on Aging's April production. We have a very, very busy program today, so let's get started. Commissioner Borghi, would you lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance, please? And everyone, please turn their mics on.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Francine, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Borghi?
Here.
Commissioner Fotheringham?
Here.
Commissioner Grimm?
Present.
Commissioner Healy?
Here.
Commissioner Loomis?
Thankfully.
Commissioner Norkin?
Here.
Commissioner Census?
Here.
Commissioner Searden?
Here.
And Commissioner Silverberg is here. Thank you very much.
He loves to make an interest, doesn't he? It's time for public comments, and we have one request for public comment, which is Carol Freeman from Senior Concerns. Carol?
Thank you, Mr. Searden and the rest of the Council on Aging. It's always nice to come back here and visit with you folks. We were together a little bit this morning, too. Carol Freeman from Senior Concerns. I'm a resident of Thousand Oaks for almost all of its 60-some years. No, wrong, Carol. 40-some years. And just to remind those watching, I know the folks here in the room probably know about Senior Concerns, but Senior Concerns provides multiple services relating to those who are maybe need a little bit of help in their senior years. Everything from our day program, aimed predominantly at Alzheimer's dementia, Meals on Wheels, case coordination, advocates that are over at the Active Global Senior Center. Lots of places we are, so my basic philosophy is and comment is, if you have a question about a senior and or are a senior, give us a call. We'll probably help you find the answer. So we sort of a one-stop shop there for you. Today I wanted to just make mention to those out there that one of our programs that we do is public education and have a program about once a month. This month, coming up next Tuesday, is something that is called Age Well, Drive Well. And Age Well, Drive Well will feature Ann Love, who is from the Department of Motor Vehicles. And she will be talking about those things such as we age, recognizing the changes that might occur impacting your driving, assessing how you're driving, making adjustments to that driving and to where or how you drive, and then how do you know when you should maybe stop driving or you should be advising someone else to help them stop. There's lots of help out there for this, so I would encourage those interested in the topic to come. It's Tuesday night, April 13th. Get the right date. April 13th is coming next Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Just give us a call at Senior Concerns. And if you have someone that needs care while you are there, you can bring them. Just tell us that and we'll provide care while you're there in attendance. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. All right, we'll move on to our guest speakers. And our first guest speaker is a very good friend of ours, a former Miss Senior California, Susan Cashman. Susan's going to tell us all about this exciting program that's coming up very soon right here in our neighborhood, right?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. We're looking forward to it. Last year, most of you might remember, we had our first ever Miss Senior Conejo Valley pageant right here in Thousand Oaks. And let me give you a little background of what this is about. First of all, we'll start with Senior America. Now, everybody knows Miss America, Mrs. America, Miss Teen America pageants, but not too many are familiar with the Miss Senior America pageant. This originated in 1972 in Atlantic City, with one state participating. The year I participated, representing California in the Miss Senior America pageant, there were 40 states. So it's grown. This is a nonprofit organization, and it's in existence because of a lot of men and women that really believe in what this is for. It is a positive experience for seniors, and it's a wonderful, wonderful way to have a lot of fun if you become involved in it. California is the only state, because we are so large, to have 6 preliminary pageants. The other states just have Miss Nevada, Miss Ohio, Miss New Jersey, whatever. But we have pageants all the way from San Diego up to Santa Clara. And we have these throughout the year. And what happens is, The top 3 winners of each pageant then go on to the state pageant to be the official contestants for the Miss Senior California pageant. And I'm here today to tell you of the newest preliminary pageant. We started last year. We had 16 contestants. This year so far I have 10 contestants, and we're looking for more. The pageant here will take place on May 23rd. That's a Sunday afternoon from 1:30 to around 3:30 or so. Last year we had a little delay because something happened that doesn't happen very often in the pageants. We had a tie. Now, the pageant is in 4, the women are judged in 4 categories. The first is the philosophy of life, which each contestant must recite in 35 seconds. What has inspired them, what they believe in, what pearls of wisdom that they can give to their peers in the younger generation. The audience never gets to see the personal interview because that is conducted with the contestant and the judges alone, and it takes place usually in the morning prior to pageant time. The second part that they are judged on is a little modeling and the philosophy of life. The audience does get to see that. The second and third. The last, which is the most popular of all, is the talent section. Now here is where I've had a lot of ladies say they'd love to do it, but they can't sing, they can't dance, they have no musical instruments, they can't act. And I want to tell you, everybody has a talent. I don't want any woman that wants to get up there on that stage and be part of this think that she can't do it because she has no talent. There's no such thing as no talent. We had ladies that brought their crafts, their quilts. Some of them made their own silverware. You can do anything that you want. And one of the most dynamic things I ever saw was when the pageant, the gal who won first runner-up didn't sing, didn't dance, but she recited the story of taps in 2 minutes and 45 seconds. That's all we're allowed for the talent part. It was so powerful and so dynamic. She won first runner-up. She was excellent. And I have to tell you, I finally convinced one of my ladies who didn't think she was going to do it. I said, you've got to do it. And she is going to do it. This will be her talent. And so if you want to see something wonderful, I tell you, there's all kinds of talents. This taps is really, it's just awesome. It just gives me goose flesh. The only 2 requirements that we have is you must be 60 years of age and you must be a citizen of the United States. And unfortunately, I lost one lady who wanted to be a contestant very badly. She sings, she's a chanteuse. And if you remember Edith Piaf, Edith Piaf was one of the greatest chanteuses in the world. My husband traveled with her for many years as part of her show. She couldn't do it because she told me at the last minute after she sent in her application that she's still a citizen of Canada. And unfortunately, much as I'd love to have her, the rules are the rules and I can't change anything. But I think you will find that this is going to be a wonderful, wonderful, positive experience if you get involved. Everybody backstage, the contestants, all of them had a lot of fun. And there's only 2 things that I promise to all of my contestants. Number 1, you will meet some wonderful women. And number 2, you will have a lot of fun. So if you're interested, don't hesitate. Please give me a call. And my number is 818-883-8975. And you can call the Global Senior Center, which is where it's going to be held, and my wonderful Andrea Koval will help you out. There are applications there. There's brochures, flyers. So if you have any questions, please call. And if you're not going to participate as a contestant, come to the show. May 23rd, Sunday at the Global Senior Center, 1:30 to 4:30. 3:30, usually 3:30. Does anybody have any questions? You've all heard this before. You can probably do it better than me. Thank you very much. I have to tell you, Senior America, Senior California, and I appreciate very much your giving me the opportunity to let our other seniors know about this pageant. Thank you, Council on Aging, very much.
You're very welcome. It is an exciting event, and just a quick note, a couple of us Council on Aging dudes are going to be judging this local contest, so you know there's something afoot there. Gene, would you introduce our next speaker, please?
Yes, I'd be glad to. Those of you who have visited the Global Senior Adult Center are aware, I'm sure, that this is probably the finest center anywhere in Southern California. And one of the things that you'll notice immediately is that the people who are the staff of that center, A, they work harder than almost anybody you know. B, they make life very pleasant for, I think, over 14,000 people per month. And they are just a marvelous group of folks. Well, that's no accident. They are led by Andrea Koval, who is the Superintendent of Recreation for the Global Senior Adult Center, and it's my happiness to introduce her to you today. Andrea?
Well, thank you. That was very nice. I know everybody gets to hear and see me once a month because I go over all the different programs that are coming up and special events. But today you asked me to go through a whole presentation, and in thinking about this, I thought I will do somewhat what I do when I do an orientation every other month, and or as our commissioners, Nonprofit Board of Commissioners, will do personal tours for those who can't make it to a scheduled orientation. A lot of people come in and they're asking, well, where do you get your money? Are you state? Are you all nonprofit? Are you city? And the answer is yes. We're a little bit of everything. Our building was constructed, is owned, and infrastructurally maintained by the City of Thousand Oaks. However, the building sits on Canal Recreation and Park District land. And on top of that, all staff that are there are Canal Recreation and Park District staff. So the city's part is the building, and Canal Recreation and Park District has the organizational runnings and policies and procedures and staffing of the building. But also along with that, we have our Retired and Senior Volunteer Program, which is a federal program. And with that, they have their grant, which is a federal grant, and Canal Recreation and Park District is the sponsor match. The city also has a little bit of that in there too, because since it's a city building, we have to then put down space and in-kind type of monies. We also have our lunch program, the Marquee Cafe, and quite a while, several years ago, it was actually under the county, Ventura County. They couldn't operate it anymore, and they gave it up. So then the Area Agency on Aging, which is the clearinghouse for the funding for the grant for that, had to put out a request for proposal, and everybody was in a scramble of how they're going to provide their noontime lunches. So the City of Thousand Oaks isn't into quote-unquote food service, and neither is Canal Recreation and Park District. But Senior Concerns does the Meals on Wheels program independently of a grant through Area Agency on Aging. So here we go. We've got a three-way again. Now we have the City of Thousand Oaks as the grant recipient, but has contracted with Senior Concerns to provide and staff for our lunch program. And then on top of that, we have Canal Recreation and Park District and my nonprofit board of commissioners to make sure all the equipment is running. So if a freezer breaks, we either have to fix it or replace it. Same thing with the refrigerators. And so this is all regular restaurant type of equipment. It's not your home refrigerator, freezer, and stoves and ovens. So it can get costly periodically, but we're very fortunate. We were able to add a salad bar, and my nonprofit board of commissioners put in some money. There was a lot of donations and partial grants. So with everybody coming together, we got a wonderful salad bar in our facility as well. So as you can see, just off these few things, it takes a lot of people to keep our center running. And when I mentioned our retired and senior volunteer program, this is where we were just absolutely awesome at. We have a little over 1,200 volunteers. And with those volunteers, we have most of our classes are free due to people having expertise or passion in certain areas. So they are actually teaching and running programs for free. So therefore, there's no cost to the participants. And we're very fortunate in that regard. So there's a lot of our stuff in a nutshell. And what I'll do is I will let Gene wanted a little talk here about what he does when he comes to the center, and I'm actually honored because Gene Borge is also on my nonprofit board of commissioners as well, and frequents the center, and he's also a Council on Aging member. Want to say a few words, Gene?
Well, thank you very much, Andrea. There are two other members of the commission, the Council on Aging, that are also commissioners. Just quickly, Jim Searden and Harry Norkin at the end over there are also members of the commission. When I talk about the commission, I think to myself, how did I ever get there, or to the center itself? And I retired, it's about 4.5 years ago. And I had been retired, I guess it was about 2 weeks. And my wife said she did remember for better or for worse, but not for lunch. So she suggested that perhaps I might just drop by the place called the Senior Center. Actually, I'd been by this place many times. And I thought it was kind of an old folks' home, you know, where everybody was in wheelchairs and slobbering. And I went there and I found something entirely different. This is really a marvelous facility. I had the opportunity to show around a couple yesterday afternoon. It was actually a woman and her daughter. And this woman had just moved into Thousand Oaks. And just listening to her talk about her life and how happy she was to see what was offered by the Global Senior Adult Center was really meaningful for me. She said something interesting. She said the two most devastating words she can think of are boredom and lonesomeness. And she said, you know, this is a place I can come and I won't have this devastating difficulty of being at home all the time. My daughter works, and being alone, she said, is something I really can't tolerate. The Global Senior Center it runs very much like, remember Cheers, the TV program? If you remember the theme song to Cheers, it goes, I won't sing it for you, that would really be something. It goes something like, wouldn't you like to go to a place where everybody knows your name and they're always glad you came? Okay? So the center is very much like Cheers without the booze. It's a place where people come and they can socialize with other people. And Andrea will tell you a great deal about what is between all of those walls. But I might tell you, just while I have a chance and I've got you under control, we have a billiard room at the place, and I'm one of the people who frequents that location. And contrary to what you might think, billiard players are not people that have just been raised in an awful environment. There are some 50 or 60 people, both men and women, who come to that billiard room, and it is very much like a very warm social club. And the same thing might be true as you look throughout the center. There is certainly a bridge group, there's a genealogy group, Andrea's going to tell you a lot more about that stuff. But I'd like to share with you that we just completed the yearly tournament between the Senior Center and the Teen Center next door. It is one of our intergenerational opportunities. You cannot believe what a wonderful evening that is. 16 members come with their parents usually, and their parents come and bring hot dogs and hamburgers and everything, and our 6 best pool players play with them, and without bragging even a little bit, over the last, I think it's 17 years, that the seniors have won 14 times. So anyway, they've been playing for 50 years, and these kids have been playing for, what, 4 or 5? So it makes sense. At any rate, I'm going to stop at this point and turn it back to Andrea, please, and listen carefully. She'll tell you all about the Global Senior Adult Center.
Thank you, Gene. Well, I will get my PowerPoint up and going, and we'll go over some of these programs that Gene so generously spoke of here. These are highlights, so not every single thing can be listed on here. But as we go through, you will see the Global Senior Adult Center is recreation fun. And that's the way I like to look at our center. It's a community center for adults. And as Gene stated earlier, he thought it was an old folks' home. We get that. People come in, they want to know what we're doing. Entertainment people we even call, oh, we can entertain to your lunch period. I'm like, we're a full-service recreation center. Everybody's in and out, in and out. So we have very diverse programming. And one of our larger programs that a lot of people don't know about is senior softball. And you do have to be 50 for this one. But we have about 16 teams, over 200 players, and we travel, several of the teams do, throughout the United States. And as you can see on one of the slides here, gray goes, there's actually 24 participants that are over the age of 75 out there playing. Now on Tuesdays and Fridays, we have what we call recreation play. So usually if somebody's going to start up the first time, we have them go there and see where they fit in, and then if they want more than recreation play for those pickup games, we move them into different slots and of the teams that we do have. And we do play against Simi Valley, Ojai, Oxnard, Santa Barbara, San Fernando Valley, so they do coordinate those, and we work with the other cities and park districts in order to do that. Another one that a lot of people don't know about is our Old Cranks Bicycle Club. Now, they named themselves. We didn't name them that. And there are over 100 members, and they've got their own dues. That one is 50 years and above as well. And they meet every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, Thursdays at Gelson's in the morning. So if you need more information, you'll have to give a jingle to the center. Classes and programs. We have approximately 115 offerings. And that's during the day, evenings, special events, seminars. And as I said earlier, an adult community center. Certain programs are definitely 50 plus, but a lot of programs you just need to be adult. So we do pull in some of the later 30-year-olds, 40s, and 50s on up. And with everybody aging and lasting much longer on this earth, which is a kind of a wonderful thing, we do have people that are much older and extremely active, and we have people that are much younger and are very active. And so you get a really nice cross-section of people. Classes and programs here, 22 different offerings for fitness, exercise, health. Some of them we kind of talked about, which was the softball and the old Cranks Bicycle Club, but we have several different yoga classes, Tai Chi, golf, bowling. As you can see, the list goes on and on. We also have a horseshoes out back, really nice horseshoe pits. And our nonprofit board of commissioners put in a putting green, so you can actually practice your putting. And there's even more. We have basketball at the teen center and badminton. So there's a lot of things to join in and do. Arts and cultural. We do have oil painting, quilting, and those programs are through Canal Valley Adult Education. So they do some programming at the center for adults. And so they help fill in a nice niche with some other qualified instructors. When I spoke earlier at the beginning about people having talent and knowledge, that's where our Spanish, our Italian, our French classes come in to be. Genealogy, Jean brought that up earlier, that is a booming, growing class. There's usually about 40 plus that show up every week. We have watercoloring and drawing, and we actually use an off-site art studio for that. Mixed media art class, scrapbooking. We do have digital photography and eBay classes. There's quite a few things that you can do in our computer room. Clubs and discussion groups. Don't want to be as active? Here you go. We've got a stamp club. It's very active, and they're going to be coming up with their Youth Stamp Club Day in May. And that is a wonderful program introducing the world of stamps and history and art through stamps to youth and keep that type of knowledge alive. We've got men's and women's discussion groups. And I always have to laugh. There are 2 men's discussion groups and 1 women's general discussion group. So we've decided that the men actually talk a lot more than the women do. We have a Jewish cultural event. Club, we have world events, different seminars, and table and card games. Those are alive and well. Chess and Scrabble, bridge groups. You can take classes if you need to bone up on it, and those are free. We've got people playing hearts, pinochle, poker, rummy tile, mahjong. We've even got a mahjong class in the evenings for those who haven't played in a long time or would like to learn. So that's been growing. Also our billiards room, cribbage, and we do play bingo. Now, bingo is one of the programs that is run through the Nonprofit Board of Commissioners as a fundraiser. So that does run 3 times a week, and we have anywhere from 120 to 165 people. So it's a pretty big program. Services and support groups. I spoke a little earlier about how the City of Thousand Oaks is involved with our center, Senior Concerns. I just mentioned Canal Valley Adult Education. Well, we also have other groups to provide services in our whole large facility. We do have Braille. A lot of people think you must be completely blind in order to join in on a Braille or do their discussion groups. But it's also for those of us, as we are getting older, our eyes do change. And if you start having macular degeneration or any other problems, they also have a bus that comes down once a month. So you can have your eyes looked at. There's things for the computers, things that are handheld devices so you can read. And so you can keep your quality of life and your everyday living activities pretty much at a norm. I mentioned our senior nutrition program. And we're coming to the end of our income tax preparation program, which is also free. So if you haven't gotten your taxes done, you need to do it this Thursday and Friday at the center, because those are going to be the last days to have your taxes done for free. We have what's called Gray Law, and that's through a grant program through the Area Agency on Aging. So if you have a general lawyer-type question, have some paperwork to look over, you can actually make an appointment and speak with a lawyer for free. The wills preparation, the same thing. If you want to do a simple, very simple will, you can come in, meet with a lawyer. They can put that together. If you need to change it, You can bring in your simple will, and they can help you make the changes. You see something there called HICAP. It's an acronym, Health Insurance Counseling Advocacy Program. So if you need help with your Medicare, or you need to switch over to a different prescription insurance, or you want to give your insurance, say, to Kaiser or any of the other things that are out there, they can help look through all that and find the best program for you. And I talked about a retired and senior volunteer program, and we have veteran services that come out. Now, our support groups, everybody needs support at some time in your life. And we do have widow and widower support groups, and it doesn't have to go by age, because that does happen to all of us at some point in time in life. An arthritis support group, diabetes support group, and we do have a nurse that comes in once a month, meets with the group. Sometimes they have guest speakers. We have a Parkinson's support group, prostate cancer support group, and there's a new one that's going to be starting up here soon. It's going to be a post-polio support group, so those that contracted polio earlier before we had a wonderful vaccine, and some of those people still contracted it anyway. As we all age, get older, there are other symptoms that do crop up with that, so there is a support group for that as well that'll be coming along. Talked about our Marquee Cafe, our senior nutrition lunch program, and we've kind of dubbed it the friendliest lunch in town. So as I spoke earlier, it's through the Area Agency on Aging, the City of Thousand Oaks, Senior Concerns, and Canal Rec and Park District. Now, with the lunch program, since it is a federal grant, you need to be 60 plus, and then it's a suggested donation of $2.50. If you're under 60, it's a flat fee of $5. And lunches are really good. You get your main menu meal, which could be the lasagnas, it could be chicken with portobello mushrooms. There's a whole variety of things, and of course all your rice and your vegetables and your salad and all that kind of good stuff. And it's also a wonderful way to, if you're there at the center, to be able to have lunch, then go take a class, or have your lunch after your class is ended, and socialize and be with other people. And you can see some of the sponsoring agencies that are listed down below, and a lot of them I have already kind of spoken about. Now, what has happened over the last few years, I thought I'd bring all this up, is our building upgrades that we have done. Jean kind of mentioned 14,000 plus people. We average between 12 to 14,000, and this past month we just added up our figures, and we had over 15,000 people come through the building. So, during this 5-year time frame, we've added 2 new classrooms, outside storage, because all our groups took all our inside storage and staff had no place to put their own things for programming. Our computer room, in which our commission, again, was generous to buy brand new Dell computers to be in there. Our retired and senior volunteer office and program now has a really nice office and a boutique, which is absolutely wonderful, help raises money to continue their volunteer activities, and also provide some other programming back to the community. And our putting green, and the city upgraded our AC and heating. We've also got a new reception counter area. We've got new kitchen cabinets and flooring and all sorts of things to hold all our items in. New refrigerator and freezers. We've got newer back landscaping. Our whole inside of the building was just painted. Back patio covering. This was we've got this awesome back patio that wasn't really used because the sun just baked back there. So if you wanted to be out there, you would sweat with the few tables that we did have out there. So the commission was able to pay for a third of the price, and through some building upgrade grants for the city of Thousand Oaks, they paid 2/3 of the price. So we've got a really nice covering, and then the commission also did buy brand new patio furniture. So now we have a patio that people are using for a variety of things. We do have our own website, as you can see, www.globalsenioradultcenter.org. So you can actually go online and look at a lot of our programs. and special events that are coming up. And what also just got added by the City of Thousand Oaks was a front patio covering, some awnings, because people would like to sit out there, or they're waiting for their rides, or they're waiting for the building to open because they can't wait to get in for a special event, so they all show up early. So now we have a nice covering that does afford some way to get out of the heat or some rain. Some the cooperative community groups for service that I spoke of earlier are listed here as well. We also have Livingston Memorial nurses that come in and do a variety of things. Hospice, acoustic hearing. This one wasn't listed on the other side. We do have a wonderful audiologist that comes in once a month and will actually check your hearing, clean your hearing aids, make sure they're adjusted correctly, make sure they're fitting correctly, and then if you need a battery, you can actually just buy a battery from them, but the rest of the service is free. So that's been a wonderful service to everybody. AARP, and also the Caneo Las Virgenes Future Foundation once a year does a whole large thing for boomers and seniors, a special event. It's usually in January, so that's over with. You know, attendance and growth over the past 5 years. I spoke a little bit about that. As you can see, we've added 46 new programs in 5 years, and we're pretty much maxed out. We are open from 8:30 a.m. to 9 p.m., at which a lot of centers throughout California and the Valley are not. Fridays we are open 8:30 to 5 and noon to 4 on Saturdays. So we're quite going throughout the week. As you can see down below, between the 03-04 fiscal year and then the 08-09 fiscal year, you'll see the numbers called activity units. That's each time a class meets or a seminar takes place or there's lunch. We count everybody that comes through for whatever program. And then the people attending. You can see it's grown from 142,626 to 159,244. So that is a 9 and 10% increase in our activity units and attendance over the last 5 years. So as you can see, our population is getting older, even though we don't like to say it. We're still very young at heart, but our age is increasing. So we get a little bit of everybody coming through the center. I try to say it is our community place, our community center for all your adult recreation and informational needs. So as you can see, between all the classes, all the support groups, all the different services and the seminars, we do have a little bit of everything for everyone. And one thing I didn't mention down here was excursions and trips. We have an extensive trip program, from day trips to 2 to 4 day overnighters, and we also do some very large trips out of the United States and within the United States. So you can have some good companionship and go on some really nice trips. And what I want to show you here are some of our programs and slides, pictures that have been taken, as you can see, from billiards to dancing to the bike club to deep sea fishing, ping pong. We've got a large group of ping pongers, and of course our softball and our band out on the patio and seminars. And here's some other pictures just sliding up for you to see. And there's your illustrious Jean with the teen versus senior pool tournament. Tap dancers, we've got a variety of tap dance classes. We do several barbecues and socials and some dances. There was a sock hop dance. And we also help with the City of Thousand Oaks annual Senior of the Year Awards Banquet, which will be coming up here shortly in June. And that is quite a wonderful program which honors volunteers throughout the community. And then usually one special person is chosen as a Volunteer Senior of the Year. So, and there's always tickets for that and dinner and a variety of good things. So this is kind of our center in a nutshell. And I hope you have some questions of things that you've been thinking about or that you come through the center with, and I can even fill in some more blanks for everybody.
Well, I've been noticing that there seems to be a great many more of what we call the boomer generation coming into the center. What's drawing them? Do you have programs specifically aimed at, say, the younger adults?
We're trying very hard to do that because we need to have them come in, realize that, as Jean says, we're not drooling and we're not all in wheelchairs, and that it is a very active place and it's okay to be there. Tap dance is one of them. Some of our classes in the evening are eBay, our digital classes, photography classes, just regular computer programs and classes that we have going on, and a lot of our seminars. Take, for instance, our Professors and Pastries that we do through Channel Islands University. So it's a different professor each time and a different talk and a presentation, and it's quite engaging.
Now, that's a fairly mixed group demographically?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yes, very much so.
I understand that you're going to have a seminar tomorrow evening basically aimed at the boomers. Is that correct?
Yes, we are. And I have a wonderful flyer for that. And it's called Rethinking Your Future. So I know they can probably see this here. Andrea Gallagher is so wonderfully providing her time for us for free, so you get a free program. And it's basically, do you know what you want to do with your life for the next 30 years? So as you can see, that it's definitely targeted boomers, but that doesn't mean that people in their 60s and 70s can't show up. Some of the things that she's going to be talking about is one of the statistics that less than 3% of us make life plans before a crisis occurs. And believe me, I see that all the time. A crisis occurs with a family member or something's happening with themselves, and people are coming in the center definitely looking at where they can go, who can they get in contact with. And it's just amazing how many people come through. Family shock things, job loss, health crises, or you're suddenly finding yourself a caregiver for a mom or a dad or an aunt or even somebody who's younger. They're now in a caregiving situation for some other crisis in their life, and they don't know where to turn to. We're kind of like an umbrella place. This is a really good start of what Andrew will be talking about. And those of us who are considering to retire someday, but don't necessarily believe in retirement, so you plan to stop one line of activity or job and move on to another, but you're not sure what to do. So she's going to talk about resources and tools and things that you can look at, and how to reach your goals, how to save. A lot of boomers haven't saved very well. Let's live for today, and we're all going to be young forever. So I totally get this. So this will be a very good talk. So this is one of them that does fit towards boomer generation.
Is there a charge for this?
No fee. Just need to call in. I'll give the numbers towards the end here, phone numbers, to reserve your seating so we don't outgrow our room.
Another quick question, if I might. Jean mentioned the teen versus the senior intergenerational pool tournament, which I just think is a wonderful idea. And I happen to know that the bus committee is also planning a potential grandmother-grandchild bus trip somewhere. Are there any other intergenerational plans afoot for the near future, or is there an effort to try to make intergenerational events happen there?
Most definitely. Besides the teen versus senior billiard tournament, we've also been talking about ping pong tournament besides our annual one that we do. We are looking at doing more bus trips that are aimed at families and or grandparents or aunts. There's quite a few, I don't know what you want to say, it's 60 plus, that somehow or another also gets in charge or guardianship of grandchildren. So you do have grandparents raising grandchildren out there as well. So we're trying to fit the niche and add as many programs that we can, and there's more to come, and the seminars just keep growing because we are pulling in the boomers, we want to make sure we are active with programs and extended learning and exercise fitness. Yes.
Andrea, I'm working on my bucket list of 1,000 things to do before I die, and this brings me into contact with a number of things that I haven't done before. And I noticed that on your program there are a number of things that are identified as introductory or beginning level things, but there are quite a few activities that where that's really not clear, and I've watched Jean shoot billiards, and I find that quite intimidating. How would you suggest that I approach some of these activities where there's not a clear path for the amateur?
Well, it all depends on the activity. I'd say if it was ping pong, just come on in. You might get a little bit of slower play between 4:15 to about 6:30 or 7. That predominantly is doubles. And as the night wears on, we do get the boomers, and sometimes you have a higher level of play taking place. As far as the billiards go, we've got quite a few women that have just started coming in, and they haven't really played before, or they played so many years ago that, you know, it's like starting over. They come in and they just start talking. People mingle right on up and will help you out or teach you. I'm trying to think. The discussion groups, there's no problem. Now, if it's a bridge group, you definitely must take a class, because if you think you were an intermediate player 8-9 years ago and you haven't played, please don't join in on their actual bridge game, because you will not be intermediate and they will get mad at you. So definitely come bone up on your bridge first before you hop into just the bridge games.
Are there mentors available that the front desk might know about?
Lots of times we'll know somebody. Or the writing class. Some people think, oh, I haven't written, but I love doing it. Everybody in that group started off at square one with just a passion or wanting to write down some history or liked poetry and wanted to take their stab at it. That's another program that's growing by leaps and bounds. And they take all ages in there. So most of it, we're all that way. When we're younger, we're afraid when our parents drop us off to tap dance, or first time you're going to start doing baseball and everybody's nervous. Well, we don't change. Same thing happens. It's called just walk on in. There's times I'll take a volunteer and have somebody introduced, or I'll walk in with somebody, or staff will, if somebody is that nervous. But usually, most everybody's been there, and somebody steps up to the plate. Jean, you had a comment earlier? No?
Well, I was just going to say that if anybody wanted to come to the billiard room, lots of people who will be happy to teach you how to play, and particularly females are very welcome.
Just watch your wine.
Actually, you can get any question answered about anything. So please come in, even if you don't play for it.
Yes, Mel.
I get over to the Global Center now quite a bit, mostly for meetings and things like that. I won't get anywhere near the bridge game, although I've been told that's maybe the next activity I want to do. But anyway, when I go over there, it's crowding. The parking is crowded. The rooms, I know at night, the rooms start to get used up quite easily and so forth. Are there any plans for the future?
Well, you never know. You did that wonderful senior adult master plan that I got to be a part of. It does make recommendation for another center more towards the Newberry Park area, and I know things are being looked at for expanding or other possibilities for programming. So yes, it is being looked at, and don't know what shape or form it will take at this point in time. And of course, with the state of the economy, sometimes you can't just throw in a building from square one from the ground up. So we're looking at all the options, but there's definitely something something brewing out there that we're looking down the road for some extra programming. And when you talked about a crowded parking lot, I don't know how to say it. We need to carpool more, ride share. Also, if you're coming for, I don't know, an exercise class, a French class or something, unless you need to be there an hour early because you're going to have lunch or you're doing another class, or you're really meeting somebody there, don't show up an hour early wandering around, because everything has its ebb and flow. So as classes get over, people do leave. And what we find on Tuesdays, most definitely, because we've got a lot of exercise classes which are very, very popular, and then we also have bingo, and then of course there's lunch in there. People just start showing up really early thinking that they need to get a parking spot earlier because they want lunch or they want to be there for bingo, when in reality most of the parking is taken up by all the exercise people. If people would wait till 11:45 to 11:50, the parking lot will just magically open up with 60, 70 plus spots, and you won't be driving around. So people just take a look at your schedule and your plans and plan accordingly. And it doesn't hurt to walk either if you have to park at the end. It's good exercise.
You could park at the library and walk. That's a good one.
Yes, you can park at the library, the teen center. Yep. Yes, Leonard.
My 50-year-old son is presented with a problem. He needs to know what to do with his 72-year-old dad. No, I'm trying to set this up over as high as I can over the net for you. I notice in the handout about programs that Senior Concerns provides ombudspersons as to help out with Senior Concerns advocates, they're called. How is my 50-year-old son going to be confident that his wonderful old dad is going to get good advice from one of these advocates?
Because they are trained.
There you go.
They are trained, and they work with all the community groups and all the referral groups throughout Thousand Oaks, Westlake, Newberry Park, and within the county. So if you come in, or if even he comes in with his own problem, I mean, I've had my own problems. I've gone in there. You can get your health care directives. Most people don't have those. A lot of people do, but when they don't, and all of a sudden they're faced with having to go to the doctor or to the hospital, you need to have a health care directive, kind of where your life's put in order in case things should go awry. Those are there. If you're looking for housing, that's there. If you're looking to downsize, you're looking for certain movers, you're looking at, do you want independent with slowly moving into assisted living if need be. It all depends on where you're at in life, or if you want to age in place, which a lot of people want to do. They want to age in place. They want to age in their home. So there's a variety of options, and they have the list of all those options for you or your loved one or anybody else to make an educated decision and choice of what to do. They're not going to tell you what to do. They're going to lay out all your options for you and really make you think about things and make a good decision.
From the schedule, it says Monday through Friday, 10 to 3. That's a pretty long time to have people available. What kind of demand pressure do you have on their services?
That's one of those that ebbs and flows. Some days are a little slower. They do have a ton of phone calls because they are at our center Monday through Friday. Other centers throughout the county, they're there once or twice a week. So they do an inordinate volume of calls. So usually if you call there, you're going to get the answer machine. You're going to leave a message, and definitely state your name, your phone number, and what it's regarding. Some of the advocates are just a little better at some things than others, just like we all are. So they'll kind of divide up certain phone calls and or priorities. So definitely leave what it's about. And you can make appointments, so you don't have to wait once they call you back, if they know it's going to take a while, or you know it's going to take a while, you need to bring in some items for discussion, you can have an appointment with them. Yes.
Well, there's so many diverse programs and activities there. I'm wondering if you could talk about a couple of some of the lesser ones. For instance, what's this mix and mingle friends encounter thing?
Those are groups that got started because people are single and they wanted to be able to meet up with other people, whether it's opposite sex or not, and finding people with similar interests to be able to do things. So they do meet, they have topics, sometimes they have a guest speaker, they exchange phone numbers. It's another way to have fun, mix and mingle. You're not learning anything other than learning your friend or potential new friend or neighbor, and somebody to go out and do something with. Because as people were talking about earlier, being bored, being lonely, being at home.
I'm curious, has there ever been a success story there? Has anybody
oh, yes.
eloped to Vegas or anything?
I don't know about eloping to Vegas, but I know a couple of people who have some new best friends.
That's great. What about this Hugs from Home? What's that all about?
Hugs from Home is run through Retired and Senior Volunteer Program, and that is actually taking in donated items that we do send off to our military troops abroad. And so you can donate granola bars, phone cards, magazines, books, all sorts of, the teas, things that can be microwaved and or eaten on the spot. And we send out those packages once a month, and we've gotten some volumes of letters back from the troops of how appreciative they are. We even one of our groups makes cool ties, and that's those little ties that go around your neck with the little beads in them, and they can put them in the water and they swell up, and it just helps keep your body that much cooler. So, and the winters back there are also very cold, so they do knit special little beanie hats for warmth and booties for feet. So they get a variety of things from us, and they say our care packages are the best when they get them. So it's a great program. Yes?
Are your support groups all run by facilitators? Are these lay facilitators or professional?
It depends on the group. If you're talking about the diabetes group, then you've got a nurse in there. If it's Parkinson's, you do have facilitator, extremely knowledgeable. They also do bring in guest speakers, doctors. So it all depends on the group. Some of it's lay, some of it's professional.
I noticed you have more dance groups here than I knew existed.
There you go.
Maybe you'd like to tell us a little bit about them.
Oh, we have tap dance, ballroom dance, line dance practice, line dance group, big band dancing, and salsa. So you can, and we do have a square dance group that meets on the 4th Saturday of the month. First and third Saturday of the month, you can come dance with Thousand Oaks Dance Club, and that's all to big band music of the 30s and 40s and some 50s. Then the Poinsettia Dance Club on the second Saturday of the month comes down, and theirs is a little more East Coast swing and different music of the 70s, 80s, and some upbeat ones. It all depends on the dance that they're doing. So
you have someone who actually teaches all of those kinds of dances for absolutely nothing. Is that correct?
The ballroom dancing and the line dance practice group, yes. If you're talking about the line dance class, salsa, and big band dance classes in the afternoon, that is a contract instructor.
I was talking about Bojo.
That's the one. Bojo's free. And that's on Wednesdays in the morning. He'll teach ballroom dancing before, then there's just the ballroom social dancing, which everybody shows up for.
Well, I have one other question. If someone wants to know more about the center, obviously they can call the number, and you also mentioned that you have an orientation program. How often a month do you do that?
Orientations every other month.
Every
Some
other month?
Odd-numbered months.
But I also know that you have what's called the Ambassadors Program, and I wonder if you or perhaps Jean would like to discuss that.
Oh, both of us can. Jean's actually one of the ambassadors. Several of the nonprofit commissioners are ambassadors. And so those people who want to hop in right away, or if, I might have just done an orientation. That happens a lot. And then I'm not going to do one for another 6 weeks. If they definitely want to tour and have lunch with somebody, or just come through and have coffee and walk around and learn, then we have an ambassador card, and we make sure those people get those, and then they're called by the ambassador and an appointment time set up. So those can be done at the person's own time frame, which does make it nice, because then they're toured around with a peer. Yes.
This is not really a question. It's comments about two things that I personally really, really like over there. There's a literature group that meets, has met for a very long time, from 10:15, I think it is, to it's in the morning on Wednesday.
In the morning till noon,
and
yes.
It's a wonderful group. I mean, it's like a book group, but they read books that you've always wanted to read but wouldn't take on yourself.
Right.
And it's an extremely knowledgeable group of people who are there, and I just learned tremendous amount of things about the books, and a very, very enjoyable group. No money except for the books. And then the other thing that I think is super there is the little RSVP boutique shop, and it really is. Yesterday, Cindy noticed this. I was over there with her for something, and I found this great suit. And I mean, like a real suit, and it was Jones, New York, $15. It's beautiful. So they have great quilts, the Afghans, all of that stuff.
And most of those are handmade.
Yeah, and it's really neat. They have cards for 50 cents.
50 cents. So you can get all your Hallmark cards, funny cards, Easter cards, Passover, you name it, it's there, 50 cents.
Oh, yes. Yeah, it's much better. Yes, it's a little cheap because, yeah.
We also have several stores.
A little bit.
There's a couple Hallmark stores and some other boutiques that also donate to our boutique. And it might be things that are overruns or things that they haven't sold for a particular holiday. And instead of taking up place, they will, I'm sure, use them as a tax write-off, but they donate them back to us. And the money is through RSVP. Our boutique has just been wonderful, because now we've partnered with Senior Concerns, and we are providing through them lifeline support for those that are aging in place, but they are alone. So if they fall or need help, their lifeline is being paid for through them. And so that's a really wonderful program. And then there's also a care call program for those that are aging in place, and their son or daughter, or what other relatives or friends they may have, are out of area or very busy and can't always make that call and talk to them and say hi and what's up. And there are people that don't get out. So now we have a care call program, and that's also been through the boutique, and our nonprofit board of commissioners helped with some seed money to get that going as well. So there's a lot of good things that do come out of that boutique that do go back into the community, plus back into the volunteers. So if you're looking for a quick gift or any baby gift stuff, oh my gosh, it's to die for. You can get all those specialty quilts and blankets and little baby thingies that are all handmade.
Also, I understand there's going to be a massive garage sale.
Yes.
You want to mention that?
Yes. We're going to have our large community garage sale. We did one not too long, what was it? I guess fall. So now we're doing a spring one. So if you have stuff you want to get rid of and you don't want to have to advertise and have everybody at your house, you can just come on over. We do have a form to fill out. It is $20, but you're getting an 18 by 10 space, so it's a whole big large parking spot. And bring your table. You can sell your items. If you don't want to take your unsold items back with you, we will actually have a group that will be then taking them, so they'll be donated back to a local nonprofit here that'll come by and pick all those up, so you don't even have to haul it back home with you. So One person's junk is another one's treasure. So you can come and make some money and have a garage sale. And I'm trying to remember all the dates for these things. I think that's the 20... Yep, 25th. So Sunday, April 25th from 8 a.m. to 2. So you can either sell your space or you can come and find some good treasures. You never know what you're going to find. So that'll be a fun day. So kind of seems to be coming to the end. I will go over just what I normally do, which are the upcoming events. As I said earlier, our income tax assistance is coming to a close. So you definitely want to make sure, if you haven't done those, to come on in. And that's Thursday and Friday at the center from 9 to 4, and today is at the Newbury Park Library. Also, our Professors and Pastries, which is tonight, and that's going to be marketing implications and usage. We've got Rethinking Your Future, which I just talked about with Andrea Gallagher, and so that'll be coming up tomorrow on the 8th. We do have an estate planning seminar April 13th. The investment discussion group, as we were just talking about earlier, we do have a wonderful group of people that do their own discussion about investing and whatnot, and they are having Rod Hormel come in and dispel the myths of estate planning. So that's another good one. If you haven't done that, you've been thinking about it, you're a boomer, just call in and make sure we've got a seat for you. Car Fit program. Senior concerns, and Carol was talking about this a little earlier, but I'm going to bring it up because this is another wonderful thing that is going to be coming up on April 17th here. So this is going to be a Saturday, and it's from 8:30 to noon. And you're wondering, a car fit, what the heck? Okay, well, we all had to get a driver's license, and you all had to have a test, and we all still have to bone up on all that. Now, as we get older, we have AARP doing mature driving courses and reminding us of what to do on the road and what to look for, because we do tend to forget, just like anything else. So with Car Fit, though, what ends up happening, our body changes. I'm sorry. This is for young at heart, but the body changes, and I'll say it on TV. I'm 50. And it does change. Mine's been changing dramatically. So even though I still go out there and do my thing and play in the water and ski and do stuff, it's just not the same as when you're 25, 30 anymore. So, but we do have those changes. And what ends up happening is we might not be as safe in our car. We all end up with back problems, neck problems, whatever, or shoulder problem. And so here we are driving. All right. How many of us go and actually look back when you're driving besides just using that mirror? I can tell you 80% of my parking lot do not. They throw it in reverse and go back. They just look in that mirror, and if nothing's straight behind them, off they go. So Car Fit is just another way to make sure your mirrors are actually adjusted for the way you are sitting in your car. Pardon? Yeah, well, 55 Alive, that's the mature driving course for AARP, yeah. But they're not looking at your mirrors when you take that class. Car Fit will. So they're going to make sure your outside mirrors are appropriate, your inside mirrors. And some of us who were born really short actually get shorter as we age. So now you might not, and maybe the car you've bought doesn't fit you like your old one did, and now you're having problems reaching the pedals. So what you do, you move your seat up. Okay, well now you might be too close to the steering wheel now that we have all these wonderful airbags in there. So that might pose more of a danger to you. Or maybe your legs are still fine, but the upper body's kind of gone down, so now you're not seeing over your steering wheel as appropriate as you should be, so now you're limiting your field of vision for parking and turning and anything else. So it just goes over all these simple things. Or you need help getting in and out. So there's quite a variety of things that they will look at. There's also going to be occupational therapists there. So if you actually did need something to help make you safer in your car, which will help everybody else safer on the road, this is the thing. And it is appointment only, and there's only a certain amount of space. Now, for anything I've mentioned, I want people out there write down the phone number. It's an 805-381-2744. So 381-2744. You can make reservations for seminars or the car fit or anything else, or just ask generic questions because there was so much information you forgot it. Anything else?
Thank you very much, Andrea. I think we all feel pretty darn fortunate to have a center such as this in our community. It's one of the very few really great ones in the United States. So thanks again. We move on now to the business portion of our meeting, and we will start with our committee reports. Our first report will be on fraud. We're going to be talking about fake census takers.
Yeah, fortunately, this is a fraud that can only happen once every 10 years. Unfortunately, this is the year. So last month, you all should have gotten this little census form in the mail. And if you, as at least more than 60% of us, have filled it out and mailed it in, you should never hear from them again. And if you do, I would be very suspicious of anyone who calls. Now, if you have not mailed it in, and they are going to send out a second set of these forms this month, you get another chance to mail it in if you lost the first one. But if you still don't mail one in, they will come and call. And they are very persistent people. They'll call at your home as many as 3 times. And if you're not at home, they'll put a little hanger on your doorknob, giving you a phone number to call and hope that you can make an appointment with them, because they're not going to stop. Now, since they do make calls, there are people who will take advantage of that situation and make believe they are the legitimate census takers and try to get information from you, such as your Social Security number, maybe bank account information. So it's important that you be able to recognize, well, who are the real census takers and who are the fake ones. Well, let me see. The real census taker, first of all, will have an identification badge, an official government identification badge, but it will only have his name on it. You have the perfect right to ask for a photo ID to match up against that. And if they are legitimate census takers, they will show it to you. They also may be carrying a bag which has says U.S. Census on the bag. Keep all their papers in there. Now, they will only ask you questions that are on this form. There's something like, I believe it's 7 actual questions on this form, such as your name and your birth date, your sex and your race. And that's about it, really. Nothing, and you should not be giving out any personal information. They will not ask to come into your home. And finally, the census people only use the U.S. mail and the telephone. So if you get emails supposedly from the Census Bureau, they are fake. Ignore them. They do not use email. So make things a little bit easier for yourself. Make sure you mail in the form. Make them happy.
Thank you, Martin. Our next committee report is on health. Heart cooling, Nancy?
Thank you. Hopefully everybody saw our February 3rd meeting where Dr. Dave from Los Robles, he's the director of cardiology over there, presented a wonderful program summing up most of the heart issues that affect seniors, and it is still available to be viewed online. It can be accessed through the city website if you missed it, and it was really, really good. Anyway, Dr. Dev is also one of the new things, and this is actually just came out since his talk with us, he is starting to treat severe heart attack victims by chilling their blood with near freezing saline, and they say it's like plunking ice into a cocktail. And I'm going to use the information that's here so I don't mess it up. The technical term for the procedure being used or considered by 3 hospitals in Ventura County. We have 3 designated hospitals. Los Robles is one of them, and is therapeutic hypothermia. And they said it's almost can be thought of as a body freeze. The doctors use saline, cold catheters, and gel packs to lower a patient's temperature about 9 degrees, and they keep it that way for 24 hours. The chill slows the body's metabolism and is believed to protect against brain damage for people who die for as long as several minutes. Their hearts completely stopped in a cardiac arrest before being defibrillated back to life. So this is a procedure that's used for very serious heart attacks, not just I had a heart attack and this would not have been used for me. This program is being used in New York City. The ambulances there are all taking people to the hospitals that have this program. Los Robles in Thousand Oaks started its program, I believe, probably in the month of February. The other 2 hospitals that are looking at doing this here are Community Memorial Hospital and St. John's Regional Medical Center in Oxnard. But it's not a foolproof procedure. It is something that they use on people who really, it's the one thing that might give them the chance. But it's a new procedure. If you know people that have severe heart conditions, it would probably be a good thing to familiarize yourself with this. And they are trying to get it now, Dr. Dave, specifically, so that the ambulances would be able to do that and the paramedics by the time they got to your house. So again, it is a good procedure to know about, and particularly if you have yourself a heart condition or a close family member or a friend that does. More progress in the heart fund thing.
Thank you, Nancy. Any questions? All right, we'll move on to committee report, legislation, California Senior Legislature. Nick?
Okay. You've probably heard that this is an election year with a primary election in June and a midterm election in November. What you may not know about is that there is a 3rd election in May for statewide offices. And this is the election of assembly persons and senators for the California Senior Legislature. Ventura County is equivalent geographically with a statistical area that has 2 assembly persons and 1 senator in this legislature. And these are elected every 4 years, and the election is coming up this year. I'd like to encourage anybody who's interested in serving on this legislature for the next 4 years and is at least 60 years of age to apply for this. And I'll tell you a little bit about the job and the process for applying. The California Senior Legislature serves as essentially a lobbyist organization with the California Legislature on senior issues, and they accomplish this by having each of the legislators produce a prospective bill to be introduced to benefit seniors. And there's a convention once a year of the California Senior Legislature held in Sacramento, and all of these prospective bills are discussed and narrowed down to a set of 10. And then these 10 surviving bills, or prospective bills, are then pushed through a lobbying effort, face-to-face lobbying effort with the California Legislature to see if they can't get legislatures, not only those from our area, but those from anywhere in the state, to sponsor these bills and get them passed into law. The process for becoming part of this is to fill out a short application form. Like many other offices and propositions, you need to get some of your friends to sign a petition on your behalf. Fortunately for this process, it only takes 25 friends and neighbors to get you certified for the position. It would be cost prohibitive to have an election in the traditional sense, where all seniors go to a polling place and fill out a ballot. So the way this operates is that all candidates who qualify will be interviewed by the Ventura County Area Agency on Aging Advisory Committee, and that will occur on May 12th, the interview process. And then that group will vote and elect the 3 individuals to represent our area. The applications for this position are due by April 21st, and as also mentioned, you need to be available for an interview on May 12th. If you want more information about this, you can call the Ventura County Area Agency on Aging at 805-477-7300. If you would like to learn more about the California Senior Legislature, they have a website at www.4csl.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. All right. Before we go on to our next committee report, it was mentioned earlier that we are well represented at the Global Center here on the Council on Aging. Well, we also have another Global Center commissioner in our audience, and I'd like to acknowledge Gary Gregory. Gary, thank you for being here. And Gary is also a member of one of our Senior Adult Master Plan Implementation Committees. So thanks for being here, Gary. So let's move on now to safety and emergency preparedness. Summer precautions. Leonard?
Yeah, summer precautions, and I'm going to talk about that because it's on the agenda, but this is a teachable moment, and unfortunately, well, or fortunately, because there wasn't too much loss of life. Earthquakes, folks. 7.2 down in Calexico, and I watched it because I have the time, but from the idea of trying to figure out what it was that those folks most needed that we could help ourselves prepare for. And I came to the conclusion that in this sometimes very dry and hot area, the chiefest supply to have on hand is water. I think medical care is going to be available to us. I think ultimately we're going to get electricity back, but if the water supply gets in some way messed up, particularly given the fact that we've got a bunch of aqueducts that are very, very, very vulnerable to a severe earthquake of this kind, we could be in a real world of hurt. Water is problematical for us. For one thing, it's heavy. And I don't handle those great big jugs that you buy at the grocery stores very well. And I pour them even less well. It's hard for me to lift up something like this and get it where I want it to be. So I don't know what the solution to that is. Maybe it's having somebody buy us periodically a case of water and putting that somewhere that's available to us and will not get hurt in an earthquake. I say that based on the fact that I spent the majority of my military career as a direct result of the great earthquake that occurred in Chile in the early 60s. I was there shortly after that on a training mission for the Army. And I saw the problems that were involved and figured that earthquakes somehow or other would always be reacted to by the United States government in foreign countries, and that's turned out to be so. And even still today, and particularly in this area, we need to be very, very aware of the fact that's going to happen. We've got a 50% chance that a major earthquake is going to happen within a relatively short time in this area. So I would recommend to everyone out there, and I'm going to take my own advice, and I'm going to get a couple of cases of water someplace where I can get at them in case there's emergency in case there's a lot of damage to the house. There are some other things you can do for water. You can fill your bathtub if that's still working, and I've got solar hot water on the roof for the house, so I get another 40 gallons there. But I think the solution is to have a case of water someplace for a couple of days. It would do me good to fast for a couple of days, but I can't get by without water, and neither can my animals. And that brings me into the summer segue.
Let me ask you one quick question before you go there. Is there a shelf life for bottled water?
Yes,
and how often should you change that?
And you raise another problem, and the problem is that if I go through the trouble of getting a couple of cases in the car and hauling that into the house, then the strategy is I ought to use that water periodically. I think that the shelf life is going to depend on who bottled it, Jim, and it varies. I think that particularly if you decide to bottle your own water, I don't think that's a good idea, because then you have to rechlorinate it and all the rest of that kind of business. I think you're better off just to say, I'm going to put maybe 2 or 3 cases in the house, and I'm going to make my coffee with my bottled water, and then as I deplete it, I'll reuse it, and that's just a better way to do it than trying to keep it. Gee, I bought that in January. I wonder how long that water is going to last. It's got some funny things floating around in it, and I've had that happen. It will depend on how you decide to provide yourself with a supply.
I just happen to have a bottle of water, and it has this. I was looking for a date. It has, I never thought about it, January 16th, 2012. So that's just one small company. This is a Coca-Cola bottled water. So
yeah, and I've seen the same thing happen, Nancy, and I can't keep all of these things in my head. My hard drive is rapidly filling up, and it needs repartitioning, and it certainly needs a defrag. So if I can't remember some really important things like where in the world did I put the password to an account I need to get into, I'm not going to remember the expiration date. I think maybe a better strategy, in answer to Jim's good question, is just to rotate through it and use it periodically. And a good excuse is it makes wonderful coffee, and you run out of it. That'd be fine. Francine?
The senior nutrition program is required to rotate their emergency supplies on June 1st of each year. They just have a specific date each year. We do it every year.
Yeah, the emergency pods also have that regulation. But there again, it's one more date that I have to remember, and bad enough. I can't remember the kids' birthdays. Don't tell them that. Back to water, if I may. Summertime, if we get dehydrated, if we senior women get dehydrated, we leave ourselves open to all kinds of problems. So we have to pay special attention to that. And I'm being picky about it. The ladies amongst us apparently are not perspiring as much. They don't realize it. They're losing water through respiration and perspiration. It's not like me. If I begin to perspire, I bead sweat and I get very thirsty. So it's really, really important for us to remember to hydrate, especially if we're in air conditioning and also if we're doing any kind of exercising at all. We can get very sick in a very short time if we don't hydrate ourselves. Also, during the summertime, we really have to go to better ways of protecting our skin from the sun. That means if I could steal some of my wife's makeup, that would work good because it's got an SPF built into it. But I don't know if that's a good thing or not. Probably can't do much with this face. We need to protect the skin with some sort of sunscreen and our eyes. And I think we ought to put aside the stereotypical statement that somebody's glasses turn color on them. That means they're an old person they can't see. Now, what it means is they're a very bright and wise person who is taking care of his or her eyes with sunglasses that operate automatically. The next to last thing about being ready for summer is reach out immediately if you are in trouble in the heat and you can't help yourself. Reach out immediately to someone, let's change the phrase, if you are in trouble in the heat. Well, what could that be? Let's suppose we have a very hot day or several days like we will have, the Santa Ana's set in, and we have a power outage, and it's impossible for us to get cool. Call someone. That's the reason why we've got advocates at the senior center. That's the reason why we've got 211. That's the reason why we've got 911. That's the reason why we have affinity groups in churches and in our neighborhood. Call someone. It would be a terrible shame to lose one of our brilliant and well-trained seniors. Yes, ma'am.
You just mentioned 211, and a lot of people aren't going to know what that is.
Oh.
You might want to say what 211 is.
I will remind us if we don't know what 211 is. 211 is a place that you call, you get a knowledgeable person on the other end, and you say, I've got this problem. How do I get out of it? And it's designed to give us useful information. This county had, for these kinds of weird things, for referrals. Now, what kind of a referral? I don't know. It might be a fan, for goodness sakes, but a fan could keep us alive. Reach out to someone. Yeah. Commissioner Silverberg and I had the opportunity of attending a wonderful all-day seminar at California State University, Channel Islands, at which the overriding problem that we discussed was our isolation. It's really easy to say, oh, I don't want to be a bother to someone, or I don't want to appear to be stupid, or I don't want to appear to be in a condition of not being able to take care of myself. If it was my 50-year-old son, he certainly would reach out if his power went off and he was too hot. During one of the recent hurricanes, he was down at the hardware store at 3 o'clock in the morning buying a generator so he could get cool. Last point about all of this business is watch our security. We have a tendency, thank God we get the ocean breeze comes in and we open up the windows. That's really cool. Double pun intended. Bad problem is that if we leave the house opened up like that, we invite intruders into the home. So we want to be very careful how we leave our homes open. We need to put bars in, or my windows, a lot of them have got catches that only allow a 6-inch opening. And we need to be very careful with our windows in our rooms in which we sleep, that we don't leave them so open that we invite an intruder into our homes. Along those lines, I urge everyone out there in television land to pay attention to the advice of the Thousand Oaks City Watch, which is run by our wonderful police department. If you see something odd in your neighborhood, pick up the phone and call 654-9511. That will get you the Thousand Oaks Dispatch, and those folks will send a patrol car to check out what you think is odd. It's a fact that most of our protection against terrorism, for instance, is alert people seeing something out of the ordinary, a change in pattern. If we see something on our streets, in our neighborhoods that seems to be out of place, a truck there, people walking, a couple of guys for no good reason, pick up the phone and call 654-9511. The folks at the other end would much rather receive a phone call from us about a person who has legitimate business in our neighborhoods than have something bad happen. And in fact, there's been a great success rate with picking up burglars and other kinds of folks with bad intentions, because people like us have just picked up the phone and called 654-9511. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Leonard. All right, we're running a little bit out of time. We'll move on to our next committee report, which is Senior of the Year. Nancy?
Yes, we'll be brief, but I really would like to urge everyone. Thank you. Let me urge everybody who belongs to a volunteer agency, works in a volunteer agency, knows somebody who's volunteering to get the agency that volunteer works for, to nominate them for our Senior of the Year dinner, which is the Senior of the Year award, which will be given at our Senior of the Year dinner, which is coming up on June 3rd. And you can get tickets for this dinner, which is going to be a Western theme and should be a lot of fun. Starting on May 1st, they're only $5, another really good deal from Goebel. And but we particularly would love to have as many great nominees as we can get. So if you work for somebody, know somebody, we've extended our deadline to April 15th. So please don't delay and see if we can get all of our really deserving volunteers nominated for this award. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Okay, let's move on to our Senior Adult Master Plan. And that would be Commissioner Silverberg. And our first order of business is a Recreation Subcommittee Implementation Committee recommendation. And let me just maintain this for a moment, Mel, before I you take over. What we have here is that the Recreation Committee has made a formal recommendation back to the Council on Aging to discuss a feasibility study to adding a new recreation center in Newbury Park. Now, this letter has come to us as Council on Aging members, and we have to approve this letter and open it up for discussion. And before it goes up the line, we have to have a formal approval. So let me take a couple of minutes and read the letter that we are proposing that we send to the City Council. The subject is the Senior Adult Master Plan, Recreation Implementation. Yes? Back up? Okay. All right. On behalf of the SAP Recreation Implementation Team, Council on Aging is in agreement that a feasibility study regarding providing additional senior adult recreation in Newbury Park be conducted. Researching the capability to increase existing recreational programs / activities for the future active senior population is one of the action steps in the Senior Adult Master Plan approved by the City Council October 2009. Partnerships with other agencies, local businesses, and educational facilities to provide additional programs are continually being explored by the SAMP teams. It is clear from usage of activities at the existing senior center and the results of the SAMP needs assessment that additional space is needed in addition to the community partnerships being developed. The SAMP Recreation Implementation Team looks forward to participating in the process with the City and Caneo Recreation and Parks District to bring this recommendation to fruition. We are enthusiastic to create a senior-friendly city which can be viewed as a model nationwide. That is the letter that we are proposing be sent up the line as a recommendation from the full council. Any discussion?
Move that we adopt the letter as written.
No, we have to make a motion and then open it up for discussion.
Robert's rule.
Yeah. So you're making. I'm sorry. I'll make your motion.
My motion is that the letter introduced to on the agenda be that the Council on Aging approve this letter with as required and submitted through the chair. Signature of the chair.
Is there a second?
A second.
Is there any discussion? Call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. This letter will be sent up the line.
Could I?
Yes. It's your ball at this point.
Thank you. Let me just note that there was considerable effort that went into that went into preparing this letter. And again, we need to commend the SAMP Implementation Committee, the recreation team, and the chair is here today, Susan Bishore, and so we want to thank her. And Susan is representative and a good illustration of the kind of dedication and the kind of work that's going on this implementation committee. Okay, and while we do that, I'll just say there's several in the room. Additional, we have Gary Gregory, and his topic is going to be held today, and I'm going to introduce that. And we also have Carol Freeman, and Carol's group is working on how to answer that 211 problem. That's a high priority because most folks in the county don't even know what it's all about. So we're trying to get at that, and that's for another time. So the thing that I'm impressed with at the implementation committee and the 6 teams is that I'm just in awe of the talent. I mean, the high caliber professional folks involving service providers, people from the various partner agencies, and as well as the community. These are high caliber people. They're innovative, and on their own, they are working on their own interactions because they saw it. So today's program is a snapshot in time on a very important our health committee, and with that, I'm pleased to introduce two of the members of the health implementation committee, and I assume they'll kind of work together in tandem or however you want to do. But let me just say, our first member of the committee is Dr. Lois Frise. She's a registered nurse and a PhD in public health administration. She's a professor emerita of health administration from the University of Southern California. She was on our original SAM committee, and the next person is Dr. Stephen Fitch, PhD, clinical psychologist, and Lois and Stephen, the floor is yours.
Yeah, go to the podium up here.
Is this okay? Okay. Thank you so much for inviting us today to give you an update. The committee is composed of health professionals and patients, clients, users of the healthcare system. We meet every other week. We began by reviewing our charge, which you're all familiar with. For those of you in the audience, it came from the Council on Aging as a result of the first step. This report that I'm going to give deals with the physical health aspects. The next report will deal with the mental health aspects. We're very sensitive to the fact that health includes physical as well as behavioral health. First, we reviewed the materials and we tried to locate the services that were available to seniors in Thousand Oaks. The Council on Aging has done a manual, but we filled a box with all the different services that were available, and we were soon overwhelmed. There are many services, but it's hard to know where they are, what they offer, who they offer them to, and hard to access. And so that became our first priority in terms of a recommendation, is that we need a central place of information of health resources. Little pamphlets scattered all over the place just aren't enough. That seemed to be the major medical care issue from the part of the consumer that we saw. Of course, now there's a great deal of talk about health reform. That's not within the province of the committee. We don't address that. We're just dealing with what we know, what's here now. But it's obvious that what is coming is complex. It's going to be in flux for several years, probably for the rest of our life. And so the need for good information, easily accessible to patients, to caregivers, to the public, is essential. Then we moved on to, well, what are the health care issues? You know, you can buy medical care, but you cannot buy health. And medical care may or may not be related to health. And what we found from the county epidemiologist is the number of seniors that we have, and also the conditions that they are subject to. And our key problems are heart disease, suicide, hypertension, and hepatitis B. Now, what do all of these have in common? What they have in common is basically the underlying principles that we can manage our own health, that the main causes of our chronic disease, which is our leading causes of death, disability, and cost in the healthcare system, are stop smoking, smoking cessation, adequate, proper diet, exercise and fitness, and getting the appropriate preventive and early disease detection programs. Now then we hear, oh, well, Medicare doesn't pay. There's no payment for health prevention, disease promotion. That is really no longer true. For the past several years, there has been a major emphasis to encourage health promotion and disease prevention, and currently the federal government's putting a lot of money into it. It's a major public priority. But it's not a matter of just education, one by one by one. What it takes for a community to have an effective public prevention program is a healthy community. We need a city with a culture that's concerned with fitness, with exercise, with communicating information, and increasingly helping caregivers, because they've become really the people who are taking care of our frail seniors over 85, and those are having more chronic problems between age 75 and 80. Well, I could give you statistics on the power of prevention. One is that researchers found that community health programs could reduce the rate of diabetes and high blood pressure by 5% within 2 years. Some forms of cancer and arthritis within 10 to 20 years, and heart, kidney diseases, and stroke by 5% in 5 years. We're all very concerned with Alzheimer's and various dementias. The data is not quite as specific in terms of the relationship between our four basics: stop smoking, exercise, fitness, nutrition, early detection, health promotion, but all the signs are going that way, and we're getting some good numbers. And so the question is a community approach feasible? And we believe it is. The survey that we took said that the people wanted a central place. They also said that they would use a public health center in Thousand Oaks. Now, we're in the process of developing our recommendations to the council. We think that the key thing at this point is that the city is open, reaching out to our partners. We've had people from the county health department. We have had representatives from the Free Clinic and from Clinicus del Camino Real. We expect to have someone from the Camarillo Healthcare District who can help us assess whether or not that is feasible for us. We will also be having representatives for the hospital. So we think there is a large problem. We think there is a solution for the problem. The solution involves community involvement and city participation. We think it is feasible. We understand there are budget constraints, but there is a great deal of money in foundations, the federal government, possibly even a health district, and we need to have a feasibility study to examine these alternatives. Now, we will make clear to you our short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals, but that's the background. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Lois. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Stephen Fitch. I'm a psychologist and on the health subcommittee of the Council on Aging SAMP program. And I've been invited to talk about the elderly and mental illness. First of all, just a few statistics. There's over 6 million people who have depression, and only 10% of them receive any treatment for it. And depression for the elderly 65 and older is a major public health problem. 7% of seniors also suffer from anxiety, which usually goes along with depression. On the other hand, mental health of seniors is generally better than boomers. Yeah, that's an interesting statistic. Right. That's because they tend to have generally less stressors, okay? But, you know, being older presents its own problems, as we all know, okay? And, you know, some of those are the chronic conditions, as Dr. Frise has already pointed out. Chronic conditions tend to be a problem, and most seniors have at least one chronic condition that they're dealing with. And many have more than one. And a lot of times, what happens is that, you know, they're seeing doctors, they get medication and that type of thing. And a lot of times, the medication and the combination of medications can produce, in the elderly especially, more severe side effects. And one of those is fatigue and even a kind of depression, okay? So oftentimes, when seniors do have signs of depressions, it's not recognized. And so it goes untreated. And that's unfortunate, okay? Because depression in the elderly leads to an increase of mortality. And statistics have shown that depressed mood in adults 50 years or older is associated with a more than twofold increased risk in mortality. And so, you know, it's a real problem. Again, primarily because it's not recognized. Okay. And if we look at depression, a lot of people with chronic conditions, it affects their health and their mood. And the other thing that we see with a lot of the elderly population is that they tend to become more isolated, socially isolated. Maybe their spouse has died. Their children are gone if they have any. And a lot of their friends and associates have also died. And so they tend to become isolated. And maybe because of their health, they don't have the energy or the means to get out and socialize. So they tend to become isolated. That can lead to depression, and then depression itself, one of the symptoms of depression, obviously, is a lack of motivation. They don't feel good about themselves. They lose a good self-concept, and that tends to help them to withdraw. Okay, so that is one of the problems. The other problem that, of course, happens with the elderly is the rise of dementia. Okay, and a recent study has come out that has shown that with the diagnosis of depression, within 3 months, there is a severe risk for suicide. And so that needs to be understood and addressed in our society. So again, as Dr. Frise has talked about, the need for education, the need for awareness, the need for addressing these issues becomes very important. So as part of our health approach, we want definitely to look at mental health also. Thank you very much. Any questions or comments?
Thank you, Frank.
So we're running out of time, so let's run on to our liaison reports. VC AAA, Mel or Nick, either one want to address the reauthorization? Pardon me?
No, that was not. Yeah, it was. It should have been transportation, but that hasn't. It's in a way, that's good.
Let's keep in motion, guys.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just say that the two things on Area Agency on Aging, and one of them is just to let everyone know that every 5 years there's a reauthorization of the Older Americans Act, and that reauthorization, the legislation involved in that, and the kind of advocacy we can do for it will determine what the funding base is and what programs are going to be emphasized by the Office of Aging in the federal government, and then that just goes all the way over. But since that's where our funds, majority of our funding is coming from, so there's lots of places where you can get some ideas. But the main thing is we want, if you have ideas that said, "Gee, I wish we had this, that, or the other thing," you can contact the following people. First, you can go to the Area Agency on Aging, and 477-7300, and ask for Victoria Jump and or anyone else there, and they will take your requests or your information or your ideas. Or you can email victoria.jump@ventura.org. And if you want to get some background on this and you're on the internet and you have a little time, just go to www.n4a.org, which is the National Aging Association, and they will. There's a lot of work that they're doing. So we've already sent a letter from the Area Agency on Aging Advisory Council to the Office of Administration in Washington, giving an initial broad view of funding. Thank you.
Okay, retired senior volunteer program, volunteer opportunities, Martin?
Well, I just want to point out that while you have till next week to file your tax return, you only have until this week to get the RSV volunteers to help you with it.
Super. All right. It's time now for commissioner comments. I do have one here. I wanted to announce that the Senior Concerns is having their annual Love Run in support of Meals on Wheels, and it's June the 6th. And for information, you can call 497-0189. And teams are being put together for this Love Run, and coincidentally, the teenagers are putting together a team and have kind of thrown the gauntlet down to the Council on Aging to us have our own team. We'll discuss that downstream. On a personal note, I'd like to just say a word of thanksgiving and to share my joy with you on the return of my grandson, a Navy SEAL from 7 torturous months in Afghanistan. Welcome home, sailor. Any other comments? I declare this meeting adjourned.
See, we made it. Right on.